In 2019, Ari Aster released the epically bright, yet under the impressionistic layer of beauty that is the surface, the brutally dark, sacrificially ritualistic pagan-influenced horror film, Midsommar. Written and directed by Ari, who showcases a grand talent for writing, assembling, and directing this breathtaking vision that is as epic and well-executed plot-wise as it is both visually stunning, surrealistically epic, and impressionistically grandiose. Breathing flowers, hidden faces, and lost in beautiful gems and Easter eggs hide around every ancient pagan drug-influenced corner, bringing the beautifully done plot elements and visuals to a grand conclusion. Whilst the acting and character development is done equally as well, breathing believability and life into the characters, their emotions, and their reactions. Starring Florence Pugh, Reynor, William Jackson Harper, Vilhelm Blomgren, Ellora Torchia, Archie Madekwe, and Will Poulter, who round off a full cast of very believable and well-acted archetypes of Swedish culture. The cult itself is done with a great attention to detail, having a grand mythos full of ancient religious texts and relics, acted to a near perfection, and visually portrayed with such a grand believability that they define the ancient and paganistic culture, the Harga, as beautiful, horrific, and understandable, as they carry out their lives in the lush green mountainside environment that is Midsommar. The film exists as a United States and Swedish co-production that was originally pitched to Aster as a more traditional slasher amidst cultists idea. The film was shot in Budapest during the summer and autumn of 2018 and was theatrically released in the United States on July 3, 2019, and in Sweden on July 10, 2019. The film grossed $46 million amidst positive reviews, arguably following in the footsteps of films like The Wicker Man. Midsommar instantly achieved a cult following that has only grown with time, and will only grow with time as more and more of the mystery and grandeur that is Midsommar is uncovered. We will get into detail on why this film is most likely one of, if not the best horror films of 2019, and in my opinion, one of the best and most visually epic and original horror movies of all time. But before we do, please hit that like and subscribe, as it is the only way I can grow my channel. I have new videos coming out all the time, and if this video appeals to you, you will most likely enjoy those as well. And without any further ado, let us dive into the brightly lit, epically depicted horror masterpiece that is Midsommar. There are spoilers here, but for anyone who hasn't seen the film, I will try and keep them as minimal as possible. That said, if you want to experience the film dry, you should likely turn this video off now. Dani Ardor, portrayed by Florence Pugh, is left traumatized after her sister Terry kills herself and both of their parents by utilizing a semi-elaborate carbon monoxide suicide setup. The next summer, Dani, her boyfriend Christian, and his friend Mark and Josh accompany their Swedish friend Pelle to Sweden to witness a festival that occurs only once every 90 years. The group is invited to witness the festival by the all-too-friendly pagan cultists. And as the movie develops, Dani's relationship with her boyfriend, which is already unstable, begins to more and more break down, being one of the central themes of the plot. The festival itself becomes darker and darker in tone, and as the ancient mysteries of the pagan cult are slowly revealed, the cultists and the rituals they employ gradually become darker, brutal, and sacrificially based. And as the ancient elixirs and drugs of the Harga are induced, the imagery becomes ever more beautiful and grandiose. Breathing flowers and epic intertwining scenes of nature merging with humans in beautiful, altogether unhorrific scenes, filled with vivid and lush colors that brightly and epically portray the drug-induced rituals of the cultists. Whilst looking visually beautiful, they feel utterly horrific and always hint at moving towards some dark and terribly brutal climax. I've never felt so scared whilst watching such beautiful imagery, and in this vein, the film is executed with an almost utter perfection and a vast uniqueness. Here, Aster has successfully defined himself as an epically talented director, with a skill for an utterly grand and well-executed and original direction. It is like listening to the beauties of Debussy's impressionistic music, whilst beneath the surface, Stravinsky's dark and paganistic Rite of Spring, full of exertion and sacrificial themes, plays at full blast, but you don't hear it. you feel its pulsing madness growing beneath you. It is truly a work of art, a surrealistic painting of pure beauty. Every stroke of paint has been applied with such a perfect balance of color and detail that you cannot pull your gaze away from the exceptional masterpiece before you, even though you know it will eventually eat you alive. The music is done with an equal attention to detail, full of Swedish dance themes and culturally based phrases that breathe life into the lush landscapes and oftentimes intricately beautiful rituals and dances of the Harga. Composed by Bobby Kurlik of the Hacks and Cloak fame, the music deserves a round of applause and is perfect for the film, accompanying and helping to define the various rituals, and most especially the dance ritual of the Harga, as not only visually beautiful, but as believable and authentic, as the music defines the intense push and pull of the ritualistically based paganistic dance. The characters are all played very well, and it is obvious this is a big-budget Hollywood romp that can afford quality acting. The main character, Danny, is portrayed by Florence Pugh, who effectively manages to flesh out the character through many traumas. I personally find her crying scenes to go on a bit long, but they should not be cut. They work in defining and expressing the grief and pain she is almost constantly in. The other characters all perform exceptionally well, with no one standing out as delivering lines weakly or ineptly, to the point that dissecting each performance would go on a bit too long, and should be a video all its own. Needless to say, the acting in general deserves a round of applause. The main characters all stand out as well fleshed out and effective. The American actors mingle with the Swedish in a masterful way, and it all just works, effectively defining a mountainside commune and the culture that survives in its lush green valley, breathing life and authentic believability into the epically beautiful and under the surface darkly sinister Harga, as well as effectively fleshing out and making the Americans very relatable and understandable. The kills of Midsommar stand as utterly unique and visually as masterpieces of the genre. The first death at the Stupa ritual is both shocking and visually amazing. With only a small amount of gore by today's standards, it is easily the goriest scene in the film. We witness one of the darker rituals of the Harga, and it is depicted perfectly, as two elder members leap to their deaths, whilst the outsiders are all affected on a deep psychological level, especially Danny, who is still grieving over her sister's suicide and parent slaying. As the female leaps, the brutal reality of the Harga's festival and culture is immediately realized, and as the male screams in pain, having failed to terminate himself after his jump, the Harga break into a hive mind for the first time, as their pure indoctrination to the cult causes them to share pain with each other. Or perhaps they truly feel each other's pain, and they are not as crazy as they seem. The rest of the kills are all done off camera but one, and beyond brutal when left to the imagination. The effects of said kills are shown, and provide enough gore to send your mind down a rabbit hole of wonder. This is not Hellraiser, or anywhere near the torture porn-esque gore that has become a cliched device amongst Hollywood horror. This is an epically unique way to show horror. We see beautiful and lush green landscapes. On-screen, flowers are breathing, whilst off-screen, victims are blood-eagled. There is a skin-wearing scene, at least I think that's what we are seeing. But again, it is done tastefully and not horrifically gory. Pulling off such a brutally gory idea without showing brutal gore is why the kills are so effective and unique in this film. 3 characters are burned alive, but again it is done tastefully and shows no gore at all, whilst you witness the entire Harga writhing and screaming in pain, as they are essentially all burned alive, along with their brothers. You are only shown a moment of the actual burning. Each death is given meaning by the end, and each death serves to drive the plot and the eventual resolution of the plot home. Easter eggs and visuals. The visuals are one of the greatest elements of the film and add a great rewatchability to the piece. Hiding behind every corner and on every rewatch I see something new. Distorted faces and eyes, flowers breathing, and at least one godlike face watching the proceedings from the trees, which on closer look appears to be Danny's sister in her death pose. Bodies decorated with branches for arms resting in the crowd. Of course, there is a ton of drug use, but I do not believe this excuses the grand use of hidden imagery and visuals. And within the ideas, as well as the hive mind pain experience of the Harga, we are introduced to a grandly horrific concept. Nature does appear to be alive, and as they worship and interact with it, It is interacting and responding to them, watching and enjoying the show made for it. In this thought, the Harga are perhaps not insane. The Harga may well be correct and lucid. Everything they are doing may well be working and keeping their culture alive. These gods they follow and make their offerings to may not be a drug-induced fever dream, but living spirits dwelling in the valley alongside the Harga, enhancing their lives and existence with every blood sacrifice they offer. Either way, the Easter eggs and visuals are amazing and offer a grand rewatchability, which helps define this film as a true masterpiece of the genre and further pushes its influence into the minds of its fans. As masterful as the other elements of the film are, I believe it is visually that the film excels the very most. And it is the true reason that, even at such a long length, the film seems to flow incredibly well. It is not so much the pacing and cuts that flow, but the beauty and imagery that rests within every shot. Overall, the execution is beyond masterful, and is the reason this movie has been so well received and continues to resonate within the minds of fans and those it has influenced. With an overall grand talent for direction that extends to plot, filming, character development, and an exceptional talent for slowly revealing grand horror. Ari Aster has defined himself as a master of the genre in a very short amount of time. Hereditary was very well received, and upon release was considered by a great many an instant masterpiece. And in my opinion, he only upped the ante when he released Midsommar. I recommend this movie to everyone who enjoys a well-filmed, creepy masterpiece, as well as to anyone that enjoys a movie that's grandness is not only present on the surface, but also exists in an occultish side, both visually and thematically, with a plethora of hidden imagery, themes, and ideas, hiding just beneath the surface if one takes the time to search. This is simply a great film on tons of levels beyond its creepiness. It could perhaps be compared to The Shining or other similar films that effectively hide and obscure tons of hidden meanings and reinterpretations within the medium. Midsommar will only grow with time, as more and more hidden visuals are discovered and more hidden meanings and interpretations are pulled from the lore and depictions of the Harga, and their evergreen, lush, and hypnotically impressionistic world. If you can handle a bit of gore and some very creepy ideas, as well as some nudity, including 13 naked singing women of random ages in a very strange, albeit very well done and plot-defining ritualistic sex scene, then there is a great chance that you will not only enjoy this film, but you may well love it. There is a great deal of information I left out, and a ton of ideas and theories to cover when discussing Midsommar, and I do plan on getting deeper into a variety of them. So if you liked any of this, please hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss out, and I will be back with more. Until then, keep sleepwalking, my friends.